Hello and welcome to The Point of Everything. Today on the show is Cathal Mac Gabhann, co-frontperson of The Altered Hours, who released their self-titled third album via Pizza Pizza Records on Friday, November 7th. Completed by Elaine Howley, Patrick Cullen, Nora Lewin and Jack Horgan, The Altered Hours have been going for a decade and a half, releasing debut album In Heat Not Sorry in 2016 and Convertible in 2021, as well as a string of EPs along the way. That's in addition to their various other acts that you'll hear myself and Cathal talk about at the top, perhaps most notably Elaine Howley's solo project and her incredible album from 2023 called The Distance Between the Heart and Mouth. The Altered Hours recorded this new record at Analogue Catalogue Studios, and as you'll hear Cathal say, it was very much a full band collaborative affair. They're one of the best rock bands in the country and one of the best live acts too. You can experience that in December as the Altered Hours have 3 shows lined up. On December 10th, they're at Whelan's in Dublin. On December 12th, they're at Live at St. Luke's in Cork. And the following day, December 13th, they're at St. Nicholas's Collegiate Church in Galway. You can buy the album at thealteredhours.bandcamp.com. Here's Cathal Mac Gabhann from The Altered Hours on The Point of Everything. You were saying you're at Fred Again on Saturday night up in Dublin. That's last week, as people are probably hearing this podcast. How was Fred Again? I wouldn't have taken you for a Fred Again fan.
I mean, I'm not a massive Fred Again fan, but I mean his stuff is very feel good. There's a nice feeling from his music. I was bringing my sister/sister-in-law on a little day trip up. She's a massive Fred Again fan. Some of the Fontaines lads were DJing before, and they got me a little free pass. So we went up and had a good time for the night. And
Very good.
it was actually brilliant. Like we were on the sparkling waters because we drove up and down, and we just danced for 3 hours straight, and it was good for the soul. Yeah, it's really good.
Are you like, if there's a gig like that, a really in-demand gig like Fred Again, or family members and friends onto you being like, oh, you're into music, can you help us out, get a free ticket to this?
No, I don't know if I'm the one who's hooked up enough. I'm the one annoying all my fancier friends for the tickets.
So you've stayed friends with Fontaines DC, obviously, then, because you played guitar with them around 2021, I think, when they toured Australia, Japan. You kind of filled in on guitar duties for a long tour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2023 it was, I think.
Okay, that's a lot more recent.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I mean, you probably know, but the Altered Hours supported them so many times previous to that, so I was kind of like, I get on great with all the lads. They're a great bunch of lads. I think they're amazing. Yeah, I'm happy to say I've become really good friends with all of them. Yeah, I was kind of friends with them before that. I guess that's probably why they even asked me, to join them for that little stint. So, yeah, they're a great bunch of lads.
You saw them kind of on the rise up, playing with them. And I mean, what's it like seeing them now, or thinking about it now, like 6 months after they played to like 55,000 people in London? I just can't, it's mind-boggling how big they are, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's been like when we even toured with them in Europe. We toured with them in Europe in 2019, and we toured with them in the UK in 2021, and a couple of other shows as well dotted around. And in 2019, we thought they were massive. Like, we were like, wow, imagine playing a sold-out Bataclan and Paradiso and all these iconic venues in Europe. And little did we know they had their sights set even higher than that. We were like, whoa. So every year it's just like a pinch me moment. But like, just so proud of them. Like, I've seen how hard they work, how into music they are. And I find them very inspiring for that reason, that they have their ambitions set really high, but they always have an acoustic guitar at hand, and they're always staying close to those chords and close to those melodies and close to those things that are important about writing songs, and close to the inspirations around them that they need. And so I find that really inspiring, actually. Yeah.
What about some of the other bands that you're playing with? You said that you played a gig with Senior Infants over the weekend. Their band, I maybe just because I'm not in Cork at the moment, I'm not hearing them. But that's kind of been a going concern. You and Dan Walsh, isn't it, for like a
Yeah.
good few years now?
Oh yeah, like we kind of started when we used to live together back in 2012 or something, 2013, 14, something like that anyway, like good 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. And yeah, it was kind of like a classic bedroom electronic project just from us hanging around together and being and having some similar influences with kind of dub and kind of psych and kind of hip hop and electronic music, and we kind of bonded over a lot of similar tastes. So we don't like we're not active like all the time because we kind of have so many projects on the go. But if kind of something comes up that suits or we're asked, we'll usually say yeah, you know. So the improv night in the Crane Lane is a great one because we can just kind of set up, and me and Dan both love just like diving in and improvising and not having anything prepared, and we for some reason we seem to be able to get away with that. So it's really fun, yeah.
What about the Tan Jackets as well? A kind of a covers band. Dan Walsh is also in that. It's you, Keelan, Dan, and Sullivan on drums. That just seems like it's like a release valve for like just having fun on stage, is it? It's just like a load of covers of like great rock songs.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Again, that started just same as Senior Infants. Kind of a lot of us were living together. I think Keelan's band had to cancel a gig, and we just said we'd do it that night. Classic, just like let's just do it and see what happens. And we just had a lot of fun. For me, the Tan Jackets is like kind of nearly like a good DJ set. You know, it's like the songs are kind of interesting. They're not the A sides. They're kind of like the B sides of records. You know, we're not playing "Love Love Me Do" by the Beatles. We're kind of playing B side of a Jefferson Airplane song instead. But that's kind of it. Still gets the people dancing and it keeps us interested. I've learned an awful lot playing with the Tan Jackets. It's helped me like rip on the guitar like way more than I used to and give me a lot of confidence.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I used to think, oh, let's just do it for fun and like whatever kind of. And now I realize it's because of the guys, like, you know, Keelan and Diarmid and Sullivan and Dan, like they're all music obsessives. Like we're not just clocking in. Like when we do a gig, even if you want to call it a covers gig, like we're jamming, we're improvising, we're trying new songs each time, we're putting ourselves under pressure, you know, to try and like get there, like get the tempos right. And I find that really exciting. So it kind of keeps you match fit as well, you know, for stuff like the altered hours and things like that, you know.
What do you mean by like the confidence thing? Is it just like you're playing these great songs by great bands? Of course, that's going to kind of feed into it. Is that kind of what you mean by the confidence, or is it something else you mean?
I think it's just it's an arena to kind of practice in, you know, as well, like, you know, because you know, it's kind of the premise of it is to have fun and be like a garage rock and roll band from the 60s. You know, that's kind of what we're doing. And we all dress up in our tan jackets. So we kind of are protected by our armor of tan and suede, you know. So I find that like it's just a good, no, it's just a good arena to kind of practice and try different like things out on the guitar where you don't feel like, you know, you're representing all your own kind of vulnerabilities and songwriting and all that stuff. So you're kind of, you know, you feel a bit like freer maybe to just try things, and then in turn you kind of learn a lot and can bring it to other projects and that kind of thing.
Has it given you an appreciation of a band or an artist who you might have like written off beforehand, who you might have thought, oh no, not into that sort of thing, but then you start playing the songs and you're like, oh man, this actually rips?
Um, Let me think for a second. I probably there's probably a few, especially if it's one of the guys that have picked up a song that I didn't know, you know. I'm like, whoa, who are these guys? First person that comes to mind, funnily enough, is kind of like the earlier Elvis stuff, you know. We don't actually play much of it, but it kind of got me into like that rockabilly stuff, that kind of earlier spooky kind of rock and roll stuff. You know, that stuff with all the echo on it, and it's kind of like Heartbreak Hotel and kind of stuff that's even earlier than that. Like we don't play that, but it kind of got me into that era and made me understand where it's coming from a bit more and how amazing it is what they create with their kind of basic recording setup and equipment at the time. And I would say it kind of got me into that era a bit more. I used to not go further back than kind of 1963, but the Ten Jackets inspired me to go back as far as maybe 1955, I would say.
And coming back up to the modern day, then we're trying to cover like everything else you're doing apart from Altered Hours. You're also like recording with the likes of, you know, new Cork bands like Pebble Dash, who they've got new EP out. Like, is that something that you just dip your toes into every now and again, or is that something that you're doing more, searching more regular for?
I don't really search for it at all. I think that's the key. It's like if someone maybe likes what I've done in the past and it feels like maybe that'd be a good match, then I'd be up for it. But I don't have the mental capacity to do it every week because it would tire me out, and I'm too obsessed with my own musical journey to give like 3 or 4 days a week or something to that, because I like to give a lot when I'm in a session like that. I feel like I won't do it at all, so I don't know if I have the energy or capacity to kind of do it all the time. But if it's a real good fit, which I felt like it was with Pebble Dash actually, it was one of my favorite recording sessions ever. The guys they're so good. I love them. I'm a big Pebble Dash fan actually, and yeah, I think they're I don't know, they really know what they're doing. They really know what their blend is, and they really are open to a lot. And they were really, yeah, they really inspired me actually during the session. So, but it's not something I would actively look for. No, I think if someone approaches me and it feels right, then I'll do it.
What's it like doing that where they're kind of searching you out maybe for you? I don't know, is it your production or your mixing, or is it kind of all of the above? But is it hard for you to kind of be a little bit hands off to make them see what they want themselves? Or tell me how that dynamic kind of works.
Um, I don't know. I usually, from experience over the years, I kind of like to define that a bit more. Like if someone approaches me, I kind of say, look, I'll give a certain amount, and this is kind of what I will offer, which would be like a few ideas here and there, or a bit of just a good energy, or I might suggest like a different amp, or like we'll mic it like this, or maybe we should add a tambourine, maybe like little things just to like, not that they didn't have loads of those ideas too, they weren't, they didn't need too much of that, but that was kind of, I guess I offer a sort of a semi-production, semi-engineering. I feel like it's like 50-50, and it kind of blends somewhere in the middle. And also, I suppose really into a lot of the same music, so I guess that helps us communicate really easily, so it makes it for a smooth session, I think, yeah.
And I guess you're also maybe like a session musician with your fellow bandmate Elaine Howley, who's been doing unbelievable stuff since she released her debut album a couple of years ago. She's off to Paris now. I saw Elaine at the ALS festival in Cork over summer, and you and Dan were both playing with her. What's it like kind of playing with Elaine in that capacity? Is it kind of like she's the boss and telling you what to do, or is it just like you've played with Elaine like forever and ever, so you know exactly what's needed? Is it more relaxed than that?
Oh, it's really relaxed. Yeah, it's really relaxed. Again, like we have such, because as you know, we've played together, most of our lives really now. And like, no, it's really relaxed. I guess it's relaxed because we know we don't have to like, the communication has kind of gone a slight bit beyond words, that kind of way, where it's like I know if she's feeling a song, she's feeling something I'm doing. If she's not, so it's quite easy actually. It's quite easy going, and then having Dan in there with that kind of trio kind of effect is so good. We're all such close friends. Would I say she's the boss? I mean, she's the boss in the Elaine Howley thing, yeah, for sure. I mean, she calls the shots. Yeah.
Must be great just to see how that's evolved over the years, because Elaine, like you, has done loads of stuff apart from the main job in the Altered Hours. She's done other bands, and then this thing is almost like a word of mouth success. I feel like everyone was just like, you've got to hear this, like that Mary Black song or something like that, and it's just kind of grown over the years. I mean, like, I'm guessing you're a fan of it as much as anything, but it must just be amazing to see Elaine kind of like put on that hat and become
Yeah.
that artist.
Yeah, I love it. I've really enjoyed watching the evolution of it. And it's actually given me a lot of inspiration because Elaine didn't really grow up dreaming of being a rock star or a pop star, So it's been a beautiful evolution of someone who's just drawn to the emotion of music and the emotion of beats and sounds, and it's very natural. It's not pushed, so it's been really nice to see that, because maybe in comparison, like myself, I've always wanted this job, you know what I mean? Like I've always, since I was really, really young, just wanted to perform and play music, So sometimes that adds a little bit of weight to it, that you kind of feel you have to do this, whereas watching Elaine kind of naturally gravitate towards what's happening and how positively that's been received is a really beautiful thing to watch. So I've really enjoyed seeing that. It's made me believe that if you just follow your heart towards what you want, it can really pay off, you know. I think for her it really is, and it's a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Is that all of the other stuff that you're doing apart from Altered Hours? Is there any other stuff that we need to tick off that you've been working on?
Uh, no, not really. No, that's enough for now. Yeah.
That keeps you busy.
That keeps me very busy. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you know, I work a job as well, so I mean, it's pretty hectic most of the time.
So, okay, coming on to Altered Hours, I guess you guys took. Well, first of all, I should say that this is our first. This is the first time I've had you on the podcast since TPOE 25 in February 2016. So it's been
Wow.
almost 10 years
Yeah.
since like I talked to the band first, and you've released like two album, maybe one album anyway. Certainly, in between 15 years together as a band. I think I'm right in saying
Something
they're
like
there
that. Yeah, I think so.
about.
Yeah.
How do you think about the journey? Is it something that you think about like when you're talking about okay, album number three, and you think about what you've done so far, what you want to do next? Is that something you talk about, or is it kind of like working with Elaine? Is it more natural than that?
It's definitely been mostly natural, but obviously over the years there's been moments where you know, stop or in quiet periods where you think, I wonder what's, you know, you look back at what you've done and what's coming, which definitely in between the last album and this album was a moment of reflection to some degree. We kind of intentionally stopped doing as many shows just for a little while, just to kind of write more and kind of rebuild kind of a new kind of chapter really. But over, like the 15-year journey has just been mostly organic and natural. I don't think like we've only started planning for things in the last like 5 years. We've learned how that music industry likes to plan things a little bit or like know what's happening, whereas we've just kind of taken shows and you know, taken things on the cuff and just like thrown everything at it and see what happens next, you know. So we've come a little bit savvy to like, you know, how it all works and stuff, which to be honest has just made it a little easier. I don't know how I think about it. I've thought about it very differently over the years. I feel right now with this new album, I feel like it's a little bit of a chapter two, actually, a small bit. I feel like everything before that was based on a certain engine, and I feel like this one is kind of like a new engine.
Is it something particular that's changed about it, or is it just the fact that I don't know? Maybe you're older, wiser, like you say, you kind of
Older.
realize what the music industry is.
Yeah, like you learn things along the way. I mean, I think when we started, we were really naive, for the better, I would say. You know, we just kind of like wanted to jump in the van and get lost, or that for me anyway. That's what I wanted, was just, you know, the classic rock and roll kind of experience. Like just absolutely jump in, get lost, dive in, don't worry about what happens tomorrow. And I did that for quite a long time. And I think it was actually the songs that we were writing and I was writing that kind of changed it really, to be honest. I feel like, and a want to kind of, and a want to change the angle of the production. I was like, everything we've done before was based on a production inspiration and where we would sit the vocals in a mix or where we would put the guitars, and it all spoke of what we meant in the song. That was kind of part of the songwriting. Whereas with this one, I wanted to kind of flip that, and I wanted the lyrics to be on top. I wanted the vocals to be on top, and to trust that we've done enough work with guitars and mixing and things like that that would just kind of happen without kind of stressing it. Whereas I wanted a new challenge, you know, and to go towards something I was more afraid of, which is to put the vocals to the front and not be afraid of the vulnerability of the sound of your own voice, and let that be heard, and just hope that translates in a human and emotional sense. And it felt like a little bit more of a risk for us. You know, for someone else that could be really natural, but for us it was, I kind of felt like a risk to kind of flip that the other way, you know, flip that angle the other way, and put the things you're afraid of to the front and see what's there. So that's what this kind of record is, you know.
It kind of makes me think of confidence again, that you're not, I don't know, sometimes it's intentional with the band where they bury the vocals, but sometimes it can be a confidence thing as well, where you kind of don't want people to hear the voice or hear what you're singing about. So It is like a confident Altered Hours that we're hearing on this album. I mean, the album is called The Altered Hours as well. It's self-titled, which kind of means something, I think, still.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of to kind of embolden that chapter two. Or I mean, I call it a kind of a chapter two. That's what it feels like to me. You know, it's sort of like someone was saying recently. Usually, it's a debut album that would be the self-titled, and that's why I kind of thought it was fun to actually not title this one and call it The Altered Hours and be like, three albums in and a couple other releases in, and then use this as a point of like, this is The Altered Hours now, and just sort of this is where we're at. This is us being as honest as we can be right now, for the listener.
Tell me about the recording process that you mentioned there. You recorded the whole album to tape. Each song was tracked live. Is that just sounds like kind of your natural element as well, I guess? Is it your natural environment, the live thing?
Yeah, and that's, it wasn't really the tape that was the reason we went to that studio. It was actually just the engineer, Julie, and the space that it was so that we could create that good atmosphere to get those takes, and feel comfortable together as a band, the Analogue Catalogue really, I'd recommend anyone who wants to do that. It's the best place I've ever been for, like, everyone having enough space and feeling in a good environment to get some live music done. And like, it just so happens that Julie's a kind of got like years and years and years of amazing analog and tape experience, and that's her domain, so that was just kind of an added pleasure really for us, and it kind of adds a certain warmth and quality too, and also maybe makes you be more prepared and just go for the takes, that kind of thing where like the red light's on, the tape is actually rolling and the tape actually costs money. So it's kind of like go, like, and that really works for us because we're kind of, all of us really come alive together in a live setting probably the most. So that really kind of brought that flame alive, in the studio. So it all kind of came together really well.
Do you go in with these songs pretty much like 99% ready to go? You've been playing them live over the years or whatever, or do you go in open to new ideas coming to hand with the instrument?
No, I mean, like a bit of both. Depend on the song. Sometimes I'd have a song or someone would have a song and you'd kind of be attached to it and you just kind of want to do it that way. And unless something happens, you just kind of go for what you've written and what we've rehearsed. But there's a couple of songs on this that were actually full on developed in the studio. We might have had a groove and a riff, and like there's one called Too Much Too Late where Elaine made up the whole vocal in the studio and it kind of made it actually a song. We were viewing it more like a vignette on the record where it would just be like a spooky 30 seconds, or that's the way I was viewing it. And then Elaine kind of came up with this melody and then it became a song, so. And then the same for everyone else, like, Patrick on the bass, like he just like, especially with effects and sounds and maybe like, a little bass run here and there. I mean, like, yeah, we're totally open. If someone is excited about a new idea, we'd let it happen. And if the song was just grooving as it was before we went into the studio, we'd just be happy with that too. So really, really, we were open, but, only if we weren't forcing new creative ideas. It was just if something happened, we'd let it happen, yeah.
Such a Steel is one of the singles you released from the album. In the press release, you say this song just came straight out of the ether. It's the tempo and atmosphere that really makes this song ring true. It was written in one rush, done in about an hour. Is that a regular occurrence? Like, is that a studio song, Such a Steel, or is that something like you're talking about way ago that happened in that one rush in about an hour?
Yeah, that was that did it. That happened in this house maybe during one summer, and yeah, like I'm very much like that. I'm a very quick. I don't like anything to be slow. If the minute I have an idea, I have to run and do it then or nothing. To the point that I'm like throwing leads around and nearly getting annoyed if something in the studio is in my way for 2 seconds. I just I need to get it down. I'm a demo type person, and the rhythm maybe is in the body or something. Maybe you've gone for a walk or you've had a night out and you're kind of in, or something has inspired the tempo in you and the feeling, and I feel like I really need to get that down ASAP. And usually when I do that, most of the lyrics just come out straight away. The tempo, that's something I really did on this record. Any of the demos that were made, I tried to copy the tempo, or we tried to kind of emulate the exact BPM that it was written at, because I thought that's a really good way of not suffering from demoitis. I don't know if you've heard of that, but where you make a demo and you work so hard on it because you're so inspired that when you go to actually do a studio version, it doesn't kind of have the same magic in it that it first did, because you're kind of trying to recreate something, which, you know, in any art form can sometimes just be not as fruitful. So I thought maybe it's in the tempo. Maybe the tempo is the thing that you need to kind of follow if you're going to redo something. And I think that really worked, actually. So if anyone here is listening and needs to get past their demoitis, I think that's a good little trick.
I think that I talked to Elaine kind of about the solo stuff a couple of years ago on the podcast. I think she was talking about maybe her working process, that she kind of like does put hours focused in a day on just the music and making the music. Are you kind of a different kind of a person? You're kind of like, you know, out about on a walk or something, and then you're like rushing home to get the idea down, or are you sitting down as well, just like playing guitar, trying to come up with ideas as well, like putting in that time?
No, I feel like I put in no effort at all. I put in my effort into life, you know. I feel like I want my music to just reflect my energy. And I've put in the work. I've been recording in studios since I was about 13 years old and gigging since I was about 14. So I think maybe I have a certain amount of experience built up that I can just lean on. So I don't maybe what I'm interested in is music that really reflects like spirit, heart, life, the emotion you're going through. And for this particular record, I really tried to follow that through more extremely and stop thinking about like effects or reverb and just think about like your heart and like what you need to sing and say and let the rest happen. So no, I mean, Elaine, I mean, I don't want to speak for her, but she's like a studio, you know, fiend. Like she likes being in the studio making beats, and I used to be like that a long time ago, but I my energy's too high now. I just need to pick up the guitar for 2 seconds, make a song, make a beat real quick, and we'll make it with the band later then. And it can take like, you know, I write songs every day, but only for like 5 minutes at a time, but they're intense bursts.
It's funny to hear you say like less of a focus kind of on the reverb and stuff like that. I mean, I love the stuff that's going on in the background throughout loads of tracks on this album. I mean, just to pick one song, Cash for a Cab, feels like there's lots of feedback going on there.
I mean, we did do it. It just wasn't the focus of the writing, or it wasn't the focus, you know?
So like, does the feedback come when you're in the studio, like you and Mark just riffing on the guitar?
Yeah, Jack. Yeah.
Sorry, Jack. Sorry.
Yeah. Like I said, like the song was the most important thing that I was following, and then like that was where we do a couple of overdubs, you know. Like so, we tracked like the guitars and the drums and some of the vocals live, and then we went back and kind of just added bells and whistles and things that we thought would extend kind of the feeling of the track. So it's not like we didn't put reverbs and delays and fancy little touches and panning on the mixing. It's just that it wasn't where the inspiration was coming from to get the point across, you know. So whereas before that would have been nearly the main focus of our expression.
Could you ever imagine doing kind of an album where you're not doing any reverb, no effects, just like super clean or anything like that? I'm guessing that it's something that you just enjoy doing, like why you play with the tan jackets. You just enjoy doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, you kind of just drawn to it. I think it's in our color palette, you know. It's like that's what we kind of use. I feel like this possibly might be the cleanest album we'll ever do, actually, you know. So if you want to hear us live and direct, this is about as clean as you get, because I'm already writing a lot of stuff and it seems a lot more dense again. So I'd say this is as clear as it'll ever be, probably. You know.
Tell me about Paper Roses, track 4 on the album. Holy moly, what an incredible song. This is kind of Elaine taking the lead on the vocals, and she's also doing the backing vocals as well. Is this, I'm not going to say, is this an Elaine song, but is it kind of like her idea maybe behind it?
Actually, this song was like one of those songs I was talking about where I actually had a demo of like the kind of riff and the guitar and some of the music was written, but no melody. And we actually, I can't remember, did she write that in the studio or just before it, or maybe a little bit of both. And also the band then arranged it together. There was no arrangement, and we worked that was probably the most collaborative song in the studio where there was a little bit of music written. Maybe Elaine had some idea of the melodies, but nothing solid, and we kind of made that very quickly in a half a day in the studio and cut that maybe in 2 takes.
Wow, that's so quick.
Yeah, I know. I'm really proud of that one. Yeah, it is quick. Um, there's no time, Owen. There's no time. Um, there's money to be made. I know. I'm joking. Like, yeah, so yeah, I really like what Elaine did on that. I think for her, that was, I was talking about how this record is really about like the singing to the fore, the lyrics being more honest and trying to go further into a direct idea of what you're saying rather than abstraction of what you're saying, which is something we were very into before. I think this is her version of that on this song. It's really voice to the front, personality to the front, everything. It feels open and honest in that song. It's probably one of the ones that makes me the most nervous because of that. It's like it's not like super cool, like sunglasses on, and we're like, you can't even see me, you can't even touch me. Like this is sort of the opposite. This is us opening out our hearts and trying to just be really honest and go with something that we're not even that comfortable or used to. So it's really nice for you to say that you enjoyed it. I'm
Oh
glad you.
man, every time it's come on, I'm just like, oh, it's so good. There's so much. It's one of those songs where there's just so much to figure out as it's going along. I love the track.
The band were amazing. Like that, the arrangement of that, was also everyone in the band. We really collaborated really beautifully on that. I really enjoyed. Like I remember like Nora just really working on the drums and Paddy and Nora kind of locking in with the bass and drums and figuring out stuff while we were over in the corner, maybe figuring out a melody. And Jack was like figuring out what kind of guitar tone to use. And we used a 12 string for the riff, and everything was it was like a beautiful mess in the studio. And then we just do the take and it worked. So it was a really lovely moment for us.
Is that something that maybe just comes from time with people? I mean, it's pretty much been the same people throughout the whole 15 years, just like one guitarist changing over that long run. Does that just come from you've played so many shows with these guys, you know them so well that there's just an ease there in the studio that maybe there wasn't, say, like even 10 years ago?
100%, yeah, 100%. It was the best studio experience I've ever had with the guys. Like we were, 10 years ago or whenever we did Ain't Eat Not Sorry, I mean, we traveled to Berlin for 3 weeks. Even when you're young, that alone is exciting, going somewhere for 3 weeks, working with your friends. And then in this crazy studio, we'd never heard everything so clean and everything's like, whoa, look at that, look at this, look at that. Whereas we were much more experienced and comfortable and together, so we were able to use our experience to stay calm and actually focus on the emotion and the music that we wanted to create, which I think was the big difference this time. We'd kind of been through the mill before, like, so that actually helped us. It wasn't like we were deader to it in a way. We were more comfortable in the vehicle we were trying to drive, and we could do a better job. That's how it felt.
I always think it's great though when bands nowadays, it seems like so many of them kind of do one album and then they kind of finish up, or maybe two albums or something. Like it can be so swift and fleeting, and real life gets in the way too. But like there is something to be said about like being together for so long and just being able to develop as musicians, as people, isn't there? And it's hard too, isn't it? Like keeping pretty much five people
Yeah.
together and playing music together.
I mean, it makes no sense, which is fantastic. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, anyone would tell you, what do you do? Like, we don't pay our bills off it. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's pretty, it's pretty like, I don't want to say it's hard because it's great. It's also gives us community. It's given me a community of friends. It's given me like some of the best experiences of my life. So like you can't say it gives you nothing, in a way, but and I don't want to say it's hard because it's a pleasure to play music with your friends and to have the opportunity to perform or put out a record. Like I mean, every time it happens, I'm so grateful that I get to do it. But it is, I mean, on the other hand, obviously in a logistical sense, life, gets in the way, and I can see why bands do one or two albums and just leave it off because it doesn't make any sense. But we're obsessed with music, and I can't stop. I mean, I think if the band stopped tomorrow, we'd still be picking up the guitar, and I think everyone else would be the same every day. It's like it's living and breathing. You can't stop, even if we want to stop. I don't think I can. You know what I mean?
It's an addiction.
Yeah, I guess like it's how I don't know, I guess it's the same for the guys, but it's how you understand the world, and how you relate to your friends and how you communicate, and I have to do that.
That's great. We'll, we'll talk through another couple of songs on the record. Heavy Red Blossom is probably the slowest song on the album. Is it harder to do a song like that where I mean, you talked about the tempo earlier and sticking with the right tempo. Is it hard to kind of resist kind of rocking out on a song like that? You've got to be really, I don't know, sticking to it or something, sticking to the idea.
For us, it feels like a kind of a longer record, but I really wanted to kind of put out something that felt like that rather than, we live in a sort of a time of, short attention spans, every me included, like, you know what I mean? The kind of whatever, we've heard it all before, phones and all that stuff. But like, I guess I wanted songs like that to be honest, just to be like, you have to dig in here, you know what I mean? If you want to, if you want to listen to this whole record, you have to listen, and stay with it. And that song was a bit of a commitment to that, the tempo was like it's gonna keep you there. I don't know how long it is. It's like 5 minutes or something like that. But with a slow tempo, that feels like a while. But I hope that the listener will just like sink into it, and it's not necessarily an attention grabbing song, to put it that way. And I wanted that to be a part of this record. I wanted to not just like always edit things down so it's all like boom boom boom, and that was maybe part of the concept of it just being a human record. Like it's like this is part of this story and it should be here, so that's why it's there. It's an important timbre of where I think this record is coming from, so it had to be on there.
And Special Things is the penultimate song on the album. Love the drums on this. This is Nora doing great things on this song. It's also one that I know you played live at All Together Now over the summer. I saw you guys. That was your first show in over a year. Maybe rather than talking about how that show was, that was like 3 or 4 months ago now as we're talking. But like, what's it like going for such a long break from playing live? Is it hard to kind of figure things out when you're back together, or like we were saying, it's just easy with these guys?
Yeah, actually, it was really easy. I think some of it you were kind of thinking, okay, we haven't done a show in ages. Maybe this is going to be different. You know what I mean? It's like anything. You go back, I don't know, to anything after a year, and you don't know, is everything changed? Was that it? Was that like? But actually, it was like straight away. Like walked on stage, felt amazing. The band I loved that show so much. I felt illuminated, I felt warm, I felt energized, and I couldn't wait to do more shows the minute that one was finished. So that kind of answered
Wow.
your question straight away. But like, I don't know, you can't hang all your worries on one show because there's so many variables in a live show that could go right or wrong that, you can't go like, if that show went badly for us or for the audience or both or whatever, or there was a problem or something, technical fault, like you can't like judge your band of 15 years on that either. So it's
I
something
was
you'd be likely to do because you want every gig to go well and you give it everything, but it doesn't always, obviously it doesn't always work. But that one did and gave us a lot of vigor, like to go forth. Actually, yeah.
I think it was like midnight on the Saturday or something, which I'm thinking is just like the dream time that a band wants to play. Is it like, I mean,
It's
the audience is a little bit out of it or something,
yeah.
but like they're ready to go along on the journey with you, all the people who are there. It was a nice kind of small-ish kind of stage, but that's kind of the ideal time to play, isn't
It
it? Just
was
like a
that was really
midnight rock show.
yeah. They just gave us that slot, so it was great. It was perfect. Yeah, I think it was exactly what people might have wanted right then. So.
Tell me about Special Things then, which does feel like a really great live song. Just another fun one to play live, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we've been kind of ending a lot of our sets with it at the moment because it's actually not a very fast song, but it's just got like this weird like propelling energy. So it's an interesting last song. Instead of going all the way high, it kind of comes back down, but it stays very strong. And I really find that interesting that we're finishing with that. And we've been toying with the set list all the time at the moment, just seeing what works. But Special Thing, that was another one where I was kind of some of the music was done and Elaine kind of worked on the vocals afterwards. Not in the studio, she had a lot of it written beforehand, and we were actually gigging it a little bit before we recorded it too, to kind of work on it and see where it was. So Jack added some really cool like feedback here and there throughout it that kind of ebbs and flows through it, and Paddy added this you know, after Elaine says, I see you and I love you, which is probably my favorite lyric on the whole record. I think that speaks volumes for what the record is. It's just standing there and saying, I see you, I'm present and I love you, you know, which is kind of badass. But I can say that because I didn't write it, you know what I mean? But like, and Paddy kind of came up with this cool like descending bass line that helped it move a bit, whereas I was just thinking it was a one note thing, and that was really cool. And obviously Nora's drums I think are kind of nearly like the main feature on it in a way, because it's such a unique beat. So yeah, and Elaine, I don't know, Elaine, I think Elaine kind of didn't write it as much as we were jamming it, and kind of came up with it more like in a live space rather than in at home, or like, you know, on a notebook. So I think sometimes those kind of more energetic songs come alive more in that setting, because you can't really push yourself into that place when you're just sitting here like with a notebook or something, you know. You're not just going to be like, you know, you don't really write down I see you and I love you, you sing it, you know what I mean, first, you know, and then you write it down. So maybe that's kind of how that one worked.
Looking back over the whole album, then it sounds like, I mean, like you probably say this after every album that you've done, but it certainly seems like you're really super proud of this record. Just happy to get it out in the world now.
Yeah, I am. I'm really proud of it. I've no idea if it's, you know, how it'll be received or like what the story is, but I'm really proud of it, and I'm really proud of us for making another record, you know, and just and doing something that challenged us a little bit and moved us forward a bit. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. I mean, who knows how it'll go like, but I'm really, really proud of it. Yeah.
Do you ever think like, you know, we should be working faster than what we are? Like maybe say it's an album every 5 years or something, you
Oh
know,
God, yeah.
in it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we probably could, you know, but it's hard to get everything in place. It being really honest with you, it's hard to have the money to go and record. If we had if there was more structure, we'd probably move faster, you know. That's not
Oh,
to say
okay.
that we don't have a certain amount of help, but you know what I mean? It's not like we can go, I kind of wouldn't mind going to the studio in a month, you know, that just, we can't do that. We could do it ourselves, but we don't always want to do it ourselves because of what we want to create or get the sonic thing. We can't all do that ourselves, you know. It's like, it takes a certain amount of equipment or gear or space, you know, to get the live thing done right. Or so I'm okay with that, you know, as long as we keep doing it.
It sounds like you're bursting with ideas though as well. I mean, if you're writing like an idea for 5 minutes every day, if Elena's working away in her room like for an hour every day on top of all the other guys, like you guys must be like overflowing with songs already for like the fourth, fifth, sixth album.
Yeah, we and it could have been. I think it's our third album. Obviously, we've released a few EPs that probably could have been albums if we weren't, if we maybe were more like, you know, I don't know, maybe added three more songs and just called it an album. You know what I mean? And we kind of just did it when we were younger. We did EPs, just thinking EPs are cool. You know, I used to love old My Bloody Valentine EPs and Ride EPs, and the Brian Jones Massacre used to do cool EPs, and I used to love that EP culture. You know, whereas now, you know, the industry actually, like I find it's kind of changing again now. I notice people are starting to release EPs again. Actually, there was a kind of a 10-year period where albums were like the only thing that would kind of get you kind of like booked or traction. If anything else seemed like, oh, that's not really enough to talk about or something. Not that I care about that, but I was just hearing that. So it doesn't actually feel like the third album, you know, like it's our third official album, but there's been so many little releases we've done that you could probably put together and call it another two albums of music, you know, at least. And then there's been loads of songs we played live that we never recorded, or we released just a live version. And I have, God, I'd say a hard drive full of 100 plus demos all the time that I like, you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Hopefully
They're
we'll be hearing them sometime
maybe,
over
yeah, I
over the
mean,
next few years. Yeah.
yeah, maybe, yeah. It's hard to
Well,
get around to finishing things as well.
well, you finished this album. Congrats on it. Best of luck with that release day. Best of luck in like enjoy release week
Thanks
as
so
well,
much.
and the live shows too. Hopefully see you guys in December. Best of luck with everything. Thanks for the chat.
Thanks, Owen. Legend, man.